All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Mark Bliss. I am Freight Farm's Customer Success Manager. For people who need a quick refresher, Freight Farms builds and sells shipping containers that can grow food in any environment all over the world. And with my position, I have the opportunity to speak to all of these farmers and hear their unique experience farming. And today we have the pleasure of speaking to two very special people who incorporated two of these container farms into the everyday lives of Auburn University. So we're going to be speaking with them in just a moment. Just so everybody's aware, this event is recorded and we will send it out to everybody who's attending within a few days. There'll also be a live Q&A at the end of this event, so be sure to submit your questions through the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We hope that you enjoy. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Daniel Wells and Kyle Hensarling.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, good morning.
Daniel, if you could explain who you are, your role at Auburn, we'd love to hear that.
Sure. So like you said, my name is Daniel Wells. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Horticulture here at Auburn University. And I am sort of in charge of the vertical farms, freight farms project here on campus.
Great. Thank you very much. And Kyle, tell us about yourself.
There, yeah. So my name is Kyle Hensarling. So I act as the head grower and basically day-to-day manager of the vertical farms, leading their students in the everyday task of running a controlled environment ag system.
Great, thank you very much. We'd love to hear a little bit more about the horticulture program at Auburn. Daniel, before we jump into vertical farming, could you provide us a little bit of background about the horticultural department at Auburn and the great stuff that you guys are doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a department with, I think currently we have 17 faculty, and they cover all areas of horticulture. And we have four academic tracks. So we have landscape horticulture, we have fruit and vegetable production, we have nursery and greenhouse production, and then we have a Masters of Landscape Architecture program. So we cover lots of different areas. Like I said, we have 17 faculty. You know, we're a land-grant university, so our mission is research, extension, and instruction. And our faculty, you know, do at least one of those three things. My appointment is research and instruction. And so we have lots of exciting sort of hands-on type of learning opportunities for students, the freight farms being one. We have an active aquaponics project that we're leading in association with other departments in our college. And that's sort of how our campus dining connection got started, which we can talk about later, I assume. And we have lots of great faculty, lots of great programs for students that are interested in horticulture, for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely dive into everything going on with the dining department. So with everything that's going on with the horticulture department at Auburn, tell us a little bit about your decision to bring vertical farming into that program.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're always looking for opportunities to give our students exposure to the state of the art. And, you know, we've been doing sort of traditional vegetable farming. And that could be anything from raised beds to plasticulture, you know, outdoor farming. And then more recently, when I was hired, we started a sort of a hydroponics project. And we did lots of hydroponic production in greenhouses. And so the next step for us was to do a completely controlled environment. And that's what we decided to do. And of course, it wouldn't have happened without our connection with campus dining, for sure. But our department head, Dr. Desmond Lane, had a vision, and he wanted this to happen. And we're very glad that it happened.
That's great. You mentioned Desmond Lane. Was everybody, kind of the department heads, the higher ups, on board with bringing the two farms onto campus, or did it take some time? What was that process like?
Well, you know, as I mentioned, Dr. Lane was certainly behind it. He's our department head here in horticulture, and we're housed in the College of Agriculture. And then there's several colleges around campus. So this is a very large campus. We have 30,000 students. I don't know what the sentiment was all across campus, but I can tell you for sure that our department head was in support. Our College of Ag administrators were in support. And then, of course, Glenn Lothridge, who runs the campus dining office, was certainly in support of this.
That's great. I mean, and so we just covered kind of people's excitement about it. What was the actual process like? We get this question a lot from people in the education industry. What was the process like of bringing the farm actually onto the campus? Can you explain what that was like for your two farms?
Yeah, that is one challenge. Whenever you have a university, things move slowly. There's a lot of hurdles in your way. Let's put it that way. And so, just understanding that we went through that process. Oftentimes, we have a public bidding process, and because we already had a relationship with freight farms through Alabama Power and then a restaurant group in Montgomery, we were working with them. We knew that Freight Farms was the company that we wanted to go with, and so we sort of had to work the channels that way. But it's a process that's set up. It has several steps to it. It took longer than we thought, and all that kind of thing. But ultimately, we were happy to be able to pull it off.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit, like on the day of the farm's arrival, what was kind of the atmosphere like on the campus and in the department?
Yeah, so we were excited. It's one of these things, though. I was thinking about that this morning. It's one of these things that we were super excited, and then our target delivery date kept getting moved. And so by the time it got here, it was kind of like, oh man, this was, a long time in the coming, but it was certainly exciting. We're on the edge of campus at the very top edge of what we call the Transformation Garden. It's kind of the edge of campus. Like I said, it's a large campus. There's 30,000 students. And so, we had a large crane. We had to lift them up over the tops of trees. You can see them in the picture there. They're sitting under some shade trees. And so we got a lot of attention that day. Let's put it that way. There were a lot of people driving by and craning their necks and stopping and asking questions. And it was exciting. And so for our department, we knew it was coming. And in our college, of course, and then the campus dining folks were all excited. So we were all here, all wearing hard hats, and watching the crane do the work. It was a lot of fun.
That's excellent. You mentioned the Transformation Garden here. Was there a specific reason for putting the farms in this location? It seems like it's a nice little grove of trees.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So the Transformation Garden is a relatively new initiative in the College of Agriculture, and it's actually spearheaded by Desmond Lane, our department head. And it's a 16-acre tract of land, and where these farms are sitting under these shade trees is the very northern edge of the 16 acres. And it's actually right across a little road from what we call the old rotation, which is a historic site. It's a National Historic Site. It was a cotton experiment started in 1896, I believe. So it's been 120 plus years in continuous cotton production. And it's a soil health demonstration at this point. It's a fantastic little site. And we kind of like the juxtaposition of having the oldest, experiment on campus next to something that's really new. We thought that was neat. It's also kind of a gateway into the garden. So it's the first thing that you would see if you're coming from at least that portion. And it's gotten a lot of visibility. That wasn't our main objective, to make it very visible, I should say, but we like the fact that it's there in the Transformation Garden as it's being developed. This is sort of the first installment and what people see when they first come in.
Yeah, and you can see that just from the sides, the wraps that you have on there with kind of a nice infographic.
Yeah.
Were either of you involved in the process of setting it up there in the Transformation Garden? Do you have any kind of information that might be helpful for attending, just understanding what it's like to have these farms here in this location?
Well, I'll speak to some of it, and I'll let Kyle talk about the setup of the farms, and so he was more involved with that. So initially we had figure out a site. Again, we're at a university, we have lots of, departments and people involved. And so there was a pretty well orchestrated plan to have these brought in, but we had to bring electricity to the site. That was part of one of the limitations. It's not like we already had an extra, electrical service, so we had to bring that in. We had to plan on how they were going to be put down. We have concrete footers. These are under shade trees, of course. We had to do some grading, some site grading, and then we ultimately built a deck to connect the two, which is a nice feature. But oh, and Wi-Fi. So we had to bring electricity, and we had to bring more Wi-Fi so that we could connect to the internet. And it was sometimes it was smooth, sometimes it was bumpy, but ultimately it got done. And then when the farms got here, Kyle went to work setting them up.
Yeah, so once the farms were basically set in place, it was kind of like a great unboxing. So you got in there, it had that, what I would call like that new car smell. Everything was all bright and shiny, and just opening up the doors for the first time was kind of eye-opening. Just seeing what all the components were that were included in it. Having some of the students there with me, you could just see their eyes really wide, and wow, like what can we start on first, kind of thing. So the initial setup and the initial programming, things like that, were quite exciting to be involved with.
That's great. I can say from experience that new car smell is great, but it's even better when you open the doors and you get that smell of fresh lettuce.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about education itself here at Auburn, and just understanding kind of education in the classroom and in the farm. We know that you integrate the farm into curriculum, both in the classroom and by having students do the kind of hands-on experience. Daniel, can you share a little bit about how you tie hydroponics or controlled environment agriculture into your teaching?
Sure. So, one of the things that I was excited about the production capacity of these farms, and I kind of knew that was the direction we were going. Of course, it all came, as a package deal, as a cooperation with campus dining. So I was sort of prepared for that. We've been doing some of that. I think the thing that, and I've told this to other people, the thing that I most underestimated was the way that the greeneries really help with instruction. So they're not large enough to bring in lots of people at one time and teach a class, right? But we have these unique group of students, these 4 or 5 students at a time, that are getting this hands-on experience running it, and that's great. But I also teach classes, like for instance, I teach an undergraduate hydroponics class every fall. So this past fall semester, I think I had around 30 students in the class. I can't bring all 30 students into the greenery at one time, but what we did was we took a tour. We opened the doors, we let them see the lights. It's something about it being so visual. They can see the red and blue LEDs. And so you can immediately say, well, this is photosynthesis in action, right? So it's a visual experience. And then we give lots of tours, and we can share videos, and we can, again, hopefully recruit students from those classes that are really interested in this to then work in the farms from that point. So I think probably what I underestimated was the power that it had as far as a teaching tool.
Yeah, it's kind of great to take something that's so abstract when you're thinking about like everything a plant needs, and then you make it very concrete where you're actually controlling light and nutrients.
Right.
Kyle, can you tell us a little bit about the experience that students are gaining from the farm? What are some of the responsibilities that they're taking on a daily or weekly basis?
Yeah, so it is a fantastic, like Daniel said, hands-on experience. These students are basically learning how to run the whole system, and learning every little aspect about controlled environment agriculture. So, things from system programming to environmental manipulation. They run everything kind of from seeding to harvest. So that even goes into variety selection, quality control on the back end, coordinating with our chefs for a pickup, from campus dining. Nutrient management, that's a big thing. We like them to be as hands-on with that as possible, because and especially in the agriculture industry, that kind of information is super important. And then at the end of the day, they do system maintenance as well. So we've tried to give them as much responsibility with it as they're willing to take on. We want them to essentially run it. It is a student run and led project. So that's kind of the idea behind it, is they get the full-on hands-on experience with it.
Yeah. Well, we can see some of these students in the slide here. These are real students. I can verify that. What would you say are some of their favorite activities to perform inside the farm?
Okay, so definitely Harvest Day. Harvest Day is a big one, just because there's that satisfaction that comes from you started something from just a tiny little seed. You get to watch it grow over a period of a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it's big, it's beautiful, it's ready to eat, it's fresh. I mean, they absolutely love that. They love being able to take some home, provide it to their friends and family, share that with them, and especially whenever we're trying out new varieties of vegetables, they love waiting for that vegetable just to be big enough where they can start picking off little bits of it and trying it out and experiencing all the different flavors that go along with stuff that we can grow in there. I'd say their favorite part.
That's excellent. You speaking of growing, would you say that the students themselves are growing throughout this process? Is there anything that they learn or take away through this process?
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, just as far as how to run and manage a controlled environment system, I've got two of my really exceptional undergrad workers that have basically become my assistant managers, if you will. I've got one for each unit, and they basically control the operations in there, and I'm here for supporting them in that role. And so, I think as far as the management experience and just the full-on scope of how one of these systems can work and how to maybe translate that into larger systems or other unique systems like this, I mean, that's just valuable experience, and that's the kind of stuff that they're taking on.
That's great. Could we speak to maybe some of the other skills that they're gaining from a program like this? Not just the explicits, how to seed, how to transplant, but I know that having a farm like this on campus can teach some transferable skills like problem solving or things like that. Do you have any kind of examples of that?
Oh, definitely. So the nutrient management, I would say, is I guess the thing that they struggled with, I say at first, but have over time just taken it in stride and really developed a good nutrient management program. So we are traditional hydroponic growers in greenhouses. So moving that into these controlled environments where we're manipulating even the lighting and the CO2 at this point, trying to develop those lighting recipes to get the speed of production that we're looking for. They learn how to do that and tweak little things here and there to basically make it tailored for each crop that we're growing. So they're learning that. They're learning how to provide tours and educate others. So as Daniel mentioned, we have a lot of tours that come in, everyone from high school to company owners, things like that. So they get to, a lot of face-to-face interaction with teaching what they've learned and what they've kind of picked up on while working on the farms, and kind of translate that to other people. So there's a lot more than just the seeding and the harvesting that goes on, and they're definitely picking up on.
Yeah, and I would add to that real quickly, Mark, that we are trying to. It is a student-led project, but we don't have an unlimited budget. It's not magic, so we have to talk to them about the business side. And it's not that we're certainly not a for-profit business or anything like that. We're just simply trying to cover our costs. And so we talk about where our costs are in the farms, and then what the price point we would need to meet and the quantities, and so they don't necessarily make those decisions, but they are understanding how those decisions are being made, for sure.
Gotcha. Daniel, what are some of the majors or disciplines that your program kind of applies to? Are these all, students that are going into business or science, or who is taking these classes?
Oh, yeah. So we can talk about the freight farm workers themselves to begin with. I think we have 3 horticulture majors. We have 5 workers right now. 3 are horticulture majors. One is a ag science major, which is a more general curriculum. and one of them is an environmental science major. We've had other students that have rotated through. One was in biological and technology management or something along those lines. And that was an engineering curriculum. So we might get like biosystems engineer folks. We have lots of students from all across campus that take classes in our department. So my hydroponics class, for instance, is a 2000 level undergrad class, and I get a lot of horticulture students, but also students from business. I had various engineering programs. We have a very strong College of Engineering here on campus, and so lots of engineering students will take this. They're interested. I even had a nursing student last semester. So, sometimes you'll get some out of the box, students that you don't expect. I had an English major one time that took it, and they were sort of blown away. This is not something that maybe they knew existed. And so it's a fun thing for them to learn about. But, as far as like the students that run the farms, we're open to students from all across campus. We, of course, go through an interview process and all that. But, we do have limited spots available, but certainly we are open to, business students or whoever.
That's great. It sounds very, very interdisciplinary.
Yes.
That's incredible. Let's talk a little bit about the program just on campus. So you've mentioned the dining services a few times. Between the two container farms, where are crops going?
So we have on campus, we have a new, what they call the central dining facility, and the nickname is The Edge. So it's the Edge Central Dining Facility. It's a very large facility, and I can't remember all the numbers about how many meals per day and all that, but it's large. And a lot of our students eat, sometimes 3 meals a day there. And that's where all the produce from the freight farms ends up. And you can see the picture there, the coolers with the see-through containers. That was designed on purpose so that they could see the lettuce arriving, they can see it being stored there, they can see it going on the salad bar, so on and so forth. And then, we've gotten a lot of feedback. I sort of didn't expect this so much, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who have come to the freight farms that are students that said, hey, I ate this lettuce the other day and it was really good. I wanted to see where it came from. So I thought that was kind of cool. But we've had a relationship our department has with the Office of Campus Dining for several years. And, it started with our aquaponics project. We were producing fish and vegetables, and it's moved into the freight farms project. But, one thing that I want to make clear that I've said over and over again is we are producing food for our students and for our faculty and staff and the Auburn community that can be served out of our dining facilities. We're not a for-profit business, and we are not competing directly with local farmers. I want to make that clear. So we're in the business of helping local farmers, right? Not competing directly with them. So we do a lot of sort of education to our dining partners and also to the food service provider, which is a third party, to make sure that we have these local growers, in the area that don't lose business as a result of this. And I mean, that's just the situation. The reality is that it can come across that way sometimes, and so we want to make sure that perception is not driving this. That the reality is that we have a strong partnership. We're not for profit. We're just covering cost, and we don't think we're sort of pricing anybody out.
You spoke a little bit about kind of the students who were, interested in the farm. I know that a lot of students, a lot of organizations as well, are kind of interested in the idea of having local food and sustainability. I know that you at Auburn have the Auburn Foods branding. How does that kind of contribute to people's kind of perception of the produce in your dining facilities?
Yeah, so we do have an Auburn Foods brand that was developed by the Office of Campus Dining, and as Glenn Lothridge will say, he's the director. Auburn people are brand loyal. And this is true, right? You stick an Auburn sticker on something, all of a sudden it becomes much more valuable. And we have a really neat logo. It's kind of it's our mascot, Aubie, but with a fork and some peas. It kind of makes the Aubie face. It's a neat logo. And so when people see that, they can immediately identify this is a Auburn food brand. And we have those little Auburn food stickers placed around campus wherever we're selling this produce, not just from the freight farms, but any other Auburn food location. So that's really been driven by the Office of Campus Dining. And I think it's been a very successful program.
Great. Now, what are you growing for your campus dining services?
Yeah, so I'll take over here. So we've got basically one freight totally dedicated to our spring mix for our lettuce production. So as far as varieties go, we have a few that I've basically done a lot of variety trials, and we've kind of selected a few that do extremely well in these kind of systems. Some of the variety names are Lalique, Intercut, our hydroponic sweet green crisp and red sweet crisp, our Rusai, and our Panisse. So we've got a selection of a couple different oak leaves, different colors thrown in there with a couple of frilly leaves. Gives the salad a really good texture and good color. And everybody seems to enjoy the flavors of the lettuce that we're cranking out of there. And while our second freight, we call that basically our experimental freight. So anything that our students want to try, or something that another farmer suggests that we try, or even our seed rep that they suggest, we kind of throw in that freight and see how it does and how it performs. So in there right now, we've got a couple different types of kale, Starber and KX1. We've got two types of parsley growing, Wega and Darky. We've got two types of bok choy, May King and Lee Ren. We've even got French breakfast radishes, jewel mix nasturtium, and then even some spinach in there. So we've got quite the hodgepodge of different things going on in there. And most of that will go to our dining facility. And a couple of them, like the nasturtiums, I would say, they've been a little hard to adopt into the dining facilities. It's an acquired taste, I would say, but still something fun to try, and that we've been kind of growing in the farms.
That's fantastic. You got to love to have the nasturtium for the salad. Great pop, great color. So let's talk a little bit about farming and kind of farming for the future. How do you see the technologies like vertical farming or controlled environment agriculture playing a role in the future of agriculture?
Well, certainly has a role to play. And so, we've noticed in our students, this is another thing that maybe I didn't make explicit, but, we were looking for opportunities to provide hands-on learning with the state of the art, right? And so the perception is the vertical farming is the future. It's the state of the art. We wanted to give our students experience there. And yeah, I think it has a role to play. I mean, for sure. So anytime you can do production of food very, very close to where it's going to be consumed, that's always a positive. And this can be put anywhere. I mean, we have it under an old shade tree study, on the outskirts of campus. You could put it right next to a building. You could put it in any sort of environment. And one thing that we like about it is it's the same temperature and humidity. It's 70 and overcast, right? All year round. So it's a great environment to work in. And I think that's also probably undervalued. Greenhouses are fairly nice, except in the summer. But, I definitely think it's part of the future of agriculture for sure.
Excellent. Finally, before we move on to Q&A, we've gotten a lot of good questions from folks. We also have a lot of folks who are coming in from the world of education. Do you have any advice that you'd like to share with our audience who might be looking or interested in implementing vertical farming at their school?
Yeah, so I would say, again, I undervalued how great a teaching tool these greeneries would be. There's something very visual about it. When you can see the different colors of light, for instance, that's very powerful. It's a powerful tool. So I undervalue that. I would just say that if you're interested in this type of thing, we were fortunate in that we already had a program that was already doing some food production and delivery on campus. And so we fit that into what we were already doing. But I would say, it's critical that if you want this to be a food production platform for campus, that you need to first start a partnership with your campus dining people, whoever that may be. And there's different ways of organizing at different universities, but that's where it starts. So start that connection, and then, I'd say be open to possibilities and say yes to things when they come your way. And that's really what happened. The campus dining folks were looking for partners, and we were the first ones to say yes to them. And we didn't know what it was going to look like. And so that was 6 or 7 years ago. I'd say we've been, pretty successful.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We've got a lot of good questions from folks. We're going to jump into Q&A. Before we get started, I just want everybody to know that we're going to do our best to answer everything on screen in time right now. If we don't get a chance to get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up with you to make sure that you get the information that you're looking for. One of the questions that we have here is, how far is Auburn's Freight Farm from the Edge Dining Hall? What is the distance/time of delivery from farm to table?
You could probably measure it in yards. I don't know. It may be 1 mile.
Three-quarters
of a mile.
Yeah.
When you're harvesting, is it kind of same day, or is there kind of a delay between when it gets to folks there?
So within 15, 20 minutes of us finishing harvest, we have an electric golf cart that comes and picks it up, loads it up, and takes it straight to the dining facility. So within a couple hours of it being harvested, it is, at our dining facility being prepared for students to eat.
Wow. Can't get much fresher than that.
Yeah, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but harvests are normally on Mondays, and then by Thursdays, or Wednesdays or Thursday afternoon, they're out.
Yes.
Of the spring mix. So it goes
pretty quick. Yeah, they like it.
High demand. Did either of you have experience with hydroponics before putting a freight farm on campus? And what was kind of the learning curve to getting the farm up and running?
Yeah, yes. We've been doing hydroponics for a few years, and I would say that it helps to have experience, but it's not critical, because we have other partners that have these similar types of farms without experience. And yeah, there's a learning curve, more of a learning curve maybe for those that don't have experience. But the training modules that Freight Farms provides were very, very helpful. I mean, we had obviously experience with hydroponics, but that was in a greenhouse. So the training module was huge for us, and we went through that very carefully. But yeah, I don't think it's certainly not a deal breaker if you don't have experience, but it did help us, I think.
Great. Do any other departments other than horticulture utilize the freight farms for education or otherwise?
Not on a daily basis, but we definitely have other departments and other sort of entities around campus that are interested and want to come see. So we do tours. I don't know how many tours have we done, Kyle. It's been
I've got 4 lined up for this week. So
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a very popular tour destination on campus. And so sometimes it's like it might be a department, it might be a student group, like a club, it might be, I don't know, master gardeners, it might be some interdisciplinary working group that's interested. So yeah, we get lots of those types of tours.
Sure. Question about the tours. I'm sure a lot of people love to step into a farm that looks like a spaceship on the inside. What is the process like of having a tour with folks in a farm? I know that there's, a bit of a risk for contamination bringing folks into an environment like that. Just curious about what your kind of protocol is there.
Yeah, so we try to limit the groups that are actually stepping into the farm to about 2 to 3 people, and we keep them cordoned off in an area that's right at the beginning of the farm. So they aren't traveling, back into the production area at all. They're basically able to see everything, but they're not necessarily tracking any foreign contaminants on their feet throughout the farm. And then after tours are done, we go through and heavily clean the floors and everything, wipe down all surfaces with a food grade, like basically like a hydrogen peroxide solution that kind of helps mitigate any of those, bacterial contaminants or something like that. As far as pests go, we've had a little bit of issues with some fungus gnats of being brought in here and there, but that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, especially in hydroponics in general, they'll find a way.
I have some in my house plants as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just kind of a question for some of our folks who are maybe coming from like a high school setting. Do you have any kind of advice for how a freight farm could be used in that kind of an organization, maybe a public high school using it for environmental science? Do you think that this is just only applicable to a university experience? Just curious about your thoughts.
I mean, I would say that you could certainly do it at high school. I think the only main difference with having it at a high school and having it at the university is that we again, we're a student-run project. You're talking to us, the two of us, but really the undergraduate students we're trying to give them as much power to do what they need to do over the system, right? So they sort of run it. I don't know that you'd want to do that with high schoolers, especially if you were going to, I mean, it depends. And there's some very mature high schoolers, I'm sure, but you might want to have more of a learning opportunity instead of a run this, farm. But it would just be a matter of figuring out how to staff it. That would be, it works for us to use students. Maybe you have some very mature high school students. And so I guess you just have to make that decision. But yeah, we take food safety very, very seriously. So we put a wash station in, we have hair nets and gloves and lab coats and all these things. And then, like Kyle said, we try to limit traffic. So that's just something I would be aware of.
Great. I've actually had an opportunity to visit a couple of high schools that use them either as a lab or in culinary program. Seems to be kind of every school is a little bit different, but I think that kids really love the opportunity, like you said, to see that kind of visualization of growth as well.
Sure.
Let's jump to another question here. How do your workers work around LED lighting? Is it on while they're in the farm, or do they use eye protection? How does that usually work?
So we have it scheduled to where the daytime for the plants is over our nighttime. So it's basically they come on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and they're shut off by 7, 8 a.m. And so that's at that point, our student workers will come in the mornings and work till about like lunch or so. That way they're not really working when the LED lights are on. But if the opportunity pops up where the lights are on and they're working at the same time, we do have LED lighting glasses. So we try to be as safe as possible and not strain their eyes.
Actually, I think I saw some of those LED glasses in one of the slides, just kind of hanging up. That's pretty neat. Also interesting that you can shift that lighting cycle, to whenever you want. I mean, you're not dependent on the sun. Great. So could you share more about the process of farm to dining hall? Do you manage all of the processing, washing of produce in the container? Do the dining halls manage that? How does that work?
So basically what we do as far as harvest, we'll take the plant, we will cut off the root system, and then we pack the head of lettuce into our harvest bins. So as far as the washing goes, that is all done at the culinary prep station at the dining facility. We try to do as minimal, hands-on stuff with the produce once it's harvested within the farm. We kind of let them, since they have a little more upgraded wash station, things like that for produce, let them handle the washing side.
Yeah, they have a salad washer, so they put the salad in and wash it, and then it goes immediately onto the cafeteria line or whatever. But that's important because if we were to wash it at our location, which we didn't want to in the first place, that's extra work. If we were to wash it, that is going to reduce the shelf life. it starts the clock ticking essentially. So we want them to wash it right before they serve it, and that's what they do.
Got it. Do you experience any kind of food safety issues for the shipping container or the dining hall? Are you using pesticides? Just kind of curious about whether or not you had to apply for permits or how did that process go?
So we didn't really have to apply for any permits. Food safety, we take pretty seriously in there. We haven't had any food safety contamination issues at all. Usually I attribute that to our SOPs and, standard operating stuff that we follow, all of the PPE that we put on when handling the produce. Anytime we're kind of in there directly touching it, we have gloves on, everything, they go through a full CDC wash and clean out before they, gown up. So as of now, proud to say that we have no food safety contamination issues.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that we have a faculty member in our department who's a produce safety specialist, and she, we developed our food safety plan, and she signed off on it and said, "This looks good. This is what you need to do." That's what we do, and then of course, the dining service providers, they have their own food safety plans as well. So there's several steps in the chain.
You mentioned your dining hall folks, Glenn Lothridge, you mentioned earlier. How do you collaborate with the dining hall just to make sure you're growing the right produce, the right quantities of things? What's that like?
Kyle?
So basically, dealing with chefs can be interesting. One week they want a certain amount, and the next week, it changes sometimes. But we actually have a lot of online forums that we work in. The chefs and I can edit it. So basically, every week, the previous week, I will go through and give us a harvest projection of what our harvest weight might be, and then the chefs will be responsible at that point for allocating it to either just at the edge, and sometimes if we harvest, more than the edge, we'll hold that week. Then we even trickle it out to our other dining facilities. So yeah.
Yeah, I think communication is the main, key. And like Kyle said, chefs change their minds, so we have to tell them, hey, and that's why we ultimately landed on spring mix, because they use a lot of it and they know it's very consistent. They need it consistently. And so we didn't want to get into the game of, well, do a little kale, and then they change their mind on that, or do some Swiss chard and change their mind, so we wanted something that was consistent.
Very nice. Got to get them some of those nasturtiums.
Yeah, that's right.
So being that you work at a university, a school, you have kind of a seasonality to when you have students available. Who is operating the farm during the summer months or school breaks?
Yeah, so usually during the school breaks, I will be the one, kind of overseeing the day-to-day operations, make sure all the systems are running properly. And if we have some seeding and transplanting, I'll kind of do that myself. Thankfully, over the summer, we usually have a couple of the students that will actually stay back, and a lot of our horticulture classes are online or offered only in the summer. So we usually have a decent influx of students that still kind of stay here and are able to work the farm. So mainly around like Christmas break and of course spring break, when all the students definitely don't want to be at work. I kind of oversee those and take over.
Yeah, it's important for us that we run it year round too. We don't want to start and stop all the time. Right. And we realized that was going to be an issue. So thankfully, and that's where, Kyle comes in. He's a full-time employee. And so he's here, I'm here. We have other staff that we can pull in if we needed to, but fortunately for us, we're about to go into our second summer, I suppose, but fortunately for us, last summer, we had students here, and I think we will this year as well.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So that kind of answers the question around, if you're kind of dialing back or turning up production in the farm, if you have like a break coming up or a holiday, do you account for that just in terms of how you're planting, or do you just grow a full farm and distribute where needed?
Yeah, so we actually do a lot of crop planning. So if I know we have like a Thanksgiving break or a Christmas break coming up, we will, skip seeding for a week to make sure that whenever the plants are back and ready for harvest, it's adequate timing for when this semester is starting back up. So we do, I wouldn't say we dial it back necessarily, but we just plan out the crop planting and things like that to accommodate for those breaks.
Got it. Here's another question that's come in. Have you considered the possibility of collaborating with community colleges by providing contacts of persons on your campus to purchase or implement a freight farm on campus? Have you worked with other organizations nearby?
Community colleges, let me say this first of all, we are certainly willing to help anybody. And one thing we can do is share our experience, which we're doing right now, but we also, again, we provide tours, we share information freely with anybody who asks. But as far as, an official program of helping a community college, we haven't gone that route yet. If there's some specifics they need from us, so we'd be glad to provide it.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think that we have one more question here, which is if you've considered an operational model where a portion of the food is kind of donated to not just a other dining facility, but other local organizations, not necessarily a community college, but does any of your produce go to other localization organizations?
So we do actually have some of our produce out of our second freight where we're kind of, trying out different crops and things like that. Some of that the chefs don't necessarily want or can use at the time. So we'll provide it to, say, like our faculty and staff at that point, or even the food bank. They love getting fresh produce in when they can have it. So we try to give back to the community a little bit, if at all possible.
Yeah, we have historically provided, excess produce to the food bank here it's called the East Alabama Food Bank. And there's some other, sort of spots where this can go as well. But what we try to do, again, we have the freight, one, or the first greenery where it's spring mix, and we know where all that's going. And then the second one is more experimental. So it's not always a consistent, we have X, pounds of something. So that makes it harder for us to move that to chefs. So yeah, those other avenues are great ways to get rid of produce.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for joining. We've kind of gone through some of our questions here. I think we're going to wrap up just a little bit early. I want to thank Daniel Wells, Kyle Hensarling. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up here?
No, thanks for having us and giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And again, this recording will be available for everybody soon. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.